Hey, that's CJ on the track.
Black Scully on check. Got a little Bull Rush Hitty on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. On today's docket, we got a lot to talk about. Before I enter the news segment, we're going to talk about Stanford and their hiring of former Nike CEO John Donahoe as their athletic director. DeAndre Moore makes some comparisons between Ewers and Arch Manning. I thought that was pretty interesting. We're going to take a look at Ohio State's quarterback room. Pretty much fall camp is in the air, and we're going to be talking a lot about fall camp for the duration of pretty much the rest of the month. This is one of the quarterback battles that a lot of people are paying attention to. I know some of the people that are in my inner circle believe that this isn't really much of a quarterback battle. However, I beg to differ. I believe this is a quarterback battle for sure. Ryan Grubb, we're going to talk about how things are going for him down in Tuscaloosa. Also, Jaydn Ott. And how he's doing in Norman, and he talks about a little bit about the facilities, the differences between Oklahoma and California. For our Governor React segment, we're going to get into Tim Brando. He dropped his top 15 in his wild. He was on Crane and Company. Shout out to Jake Crane. I know him and Nino are really close. He also follows me on Twitter as well. But there's just some thoughts I have about this. Penn State's too low. And this is not a diss at Boise State. Boise State can definitely be, the G5 winner who, goes to the playoffs again. But I think they're too high. Alabama at 14 is just pure comedy. And we're going to set the record straight. I think you guys see me most of the time, I try to take the high road. I don't try to be, disrespectful to my peers. And I'm not going to ever get disrespectful. But this one is going to be edgy because I have some really strong opinions about this one. Our governor ruling segment, we're kind of going to look at NIL collectives and how they can pay athletes directly with guardrails. I think President Trump did a fantastic job with the signing of the executive order. I think it was called Saving College Sports or College Athletics, something like that. So we're going to talk about what does it mean and how it will shape the future of the sport. And then for our Around the Nation segment, and this is going to be the meat and potatoes of this episode, ESPN has 32 teams, what they say at least of a 10% chance of making a college football playoff. I think that's the beauty about it, going to 12 teams. When it's at 4 teams, there was literally maybe 10 to 12 teams that you said had a legitimate shot. But most of the time, each season you can guess 2 or 3 of the teams. Like that was just the way it was. But there's a little bit of nuance with the 12-team playoff, so we're going to look at that as well. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the We are back at home base, and to be honest with you, it feels good to be at home. Shout out to Miss Katrina, the SID at FAU. Shout out to FAU in general, man. They truly did roll out the red carpet for us. It was so dope to be able to go live from the stadium. We actually had planned on going live from the stadium on Friday as well, but we had to move our flights up, and we was able to meet with our sponsors, Bull Rush. Shout out to Trent. Shout out to Neil. I forgot my guy's name that we met with on Friday. So we had a dope time with them. Went to lunch. Went to a place called The Cove. It was really, really good food. I really enjoyed my meal for sure. And I think Moon and Mike enjoyed theirs as well. But really successful trip to Boca Raton. I feel like we was able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And really just kind of waiting on to see where we're going next. We got a couple of options. We may end up going to Virginia Tech on Thursday. I do got to talk to their SID, a few of their SIDs to kind of see, what we'll be able to do as far as being there and being able to go live, and if it's possible. And then we got some other schools in the work as well that has already said, hey, yeah, you guys can come out. So we're going to see what that looks like, over the next few days. I was trying to schedule a meeting Thursday. This is on, another business that I'm trying to formulate at the moment. I was like, hey, there is a chance that somebody say, hey, come on down, and we're catching a flight. That's just the way it works. So we're going to get into the news. Like I said, I'm excited to be back at home base. I feel like I haven't given you guys a full slate of shows probably since Media Day season opened up, and it's really just because, hey, man, duty calls. So it is what it is. So let's get into it. Stanford goes corporate. They hired a former Nike exec to their AD chair. Stanford just made a bold move in the arms race of college athletics. The Cardinals are expected to hire John Donahoe, the former CEO of Nike and Stanford NBA alum, as their next athletic director. I talked about Stanford quite a bit at ACC Media Days, and the fact that Andrew Luck is there as their general manager, I know that they're going to get this thing, headed in the right direction. They've certainly lost some production. I think my immediate thought about Frank Wright being the head coach is this. My whole life I've grew up as a have-not. Thank God I had both of my parents. I think that's why, me and my brothers have kind of been as successful as we are, because they stayed on us. They kept us busy and kept us away from the streets. They did a really good job with that. But, when you grew up being a have-not and you know what those hard days are like, you kind of surround yourself, with have-nots, with go-getters. And, that's really what we've been able to assimilate our team here at CFB Nation with a lot of have-nots, with a lot of go-getters. And it's truly been impressive what we've been able to do. But I look at somebody like Frank Wright. Look at his career. A lot of us remember, I'm a Bills fan, so of course I remember the comeback against the Houston Oilers in the playoffs, being down insurmountable amount of points. He also did the same thing in college. But when you have a guy like that, the path less chosen, the have-nots, I think some of those players at Stanford probably feel like have-nots as well. So, I think they'll be able to identify with each other. Hey, that university, you went there, they didn't really want you. You didn't get any PT. And I think, as far as Frank Wright coaching career has been, it's kind of been like, hey, teams that probably should have given him contract extensions or let him figure it out was like, hey, we don't want you. So I think when you're able to identify with that, I think Stanford is truly going to build something special. So it's funny, DeAndre Moore is the next part of our Into the News segment, and it was interesting. He talked about kind of the differences between Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, and Arch Manning's buzz has been crazy. And I know one of the things that they talked about was just how fast Arch Manning is. And I think he recorded a run last year. It was like roughly 20 miles per hour at the quarterback position. That's pretty interesting. Things are really looking good in Austin. I kind of don't know where I have them. I want to see more of this program at fall camp. But these things I do know I trust. I trust Steve Sarkisian. I know that defense is going to play lights out this year. And I know they'll go as far as Arch Manning has taken them. And I think Arch Manning truly has the ability to do something that neither his uncles can do in Eli and Peyton or his grandfather can do in Archie, and that's win a collegiate championship. They have the opportunity to. It's right in front of them. And, we're going to do a huge segment on teams that can, possibly with chances of making the college football playoff. But, Texas is certainly going to be right there in the thick of things. We just got to be honest. And I'm just realizing that my lights aren't in my background. Give me 1 second. Trying to figure out why my background looks so dull, and then I don't even have the other one plugged up, but it's all good. We just rock out with one today. So, yeah, it's been impressive. So, Ohio State QB room fight. This is something that I said heading into fall camp that, Ryan Day was going to have to pretty much deal with every day that he's going to be allowed to address the media, because most of the fall camps I go to, the head coach isn't available for every session. That's just not the way it works, at least. Now, I don't know. Ohio State's a big program, so he might have to be available every day. But I know, I've been to FAU's fall camp. I've been to Clemson's fall camp. I've been to Virginia Tech's fall camp. And I know that at those schools, it's not every day. They'll give the coaches space. So, some days it'll be about the players. And then, of course, I think each one kind of had their own little media day. So, this is something that's going to be talked about a lot until, Ryan Day decides to name a starter. But this quarterback battle between Lincoln Kienholz and Julian Sayin. And Ryan Day said it simply. He said, this competition will come down to leadership and command. And that's really, when you look at the two overarching things you want your quarterback to do. You want him to lead and you want him to command the system. You want him to have full understanding of the offense. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this quarterback battle. I think Julian Sayin will ultimately win it, but he'll have to earn it. It won't be given to him. And I'll tell you, Lincoln Kienholz ain't going nowhere no time soon. So it'll be interesting to see that. Ryan Grubb sounds the alarm in Tuscaloosa. And he's already sent the message to to the quarterback room, and that's all. Sometimes it's all it takes. And we know that Ty Simpson ultimately end up being the guy. But, it's a group that also includes Austin Mack, true freshman Keelan Russell, who a lot of people like using in college football 26. But Grubb made it clear the standard won't wait. Saban may be gone, but the expectation hasn't dropped an inch. And I like that a lot. And I can tell last year, during Kalen DeBoer first year there, and this is not a knock at Nick Sheridan. I think Nick Sheridan done the best he could with what they had. But I think Ryan Grubb's system truly fits Ty Simpson's skill set. And I think when we truly look at this program and where that they had it, having Ryan Grubb there is like having another head coach, to be honest with you. Somebody who's not going to be afraid to say what needs to be said. And a lot of times coaches will send a shot via, they'll give it to you in person, but sometimes they'll use the media to send a shot to get a point across. Like we saw Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham is such a great coach. Oh my goodness, Kenny Dillingham is such a great coach. And he was saying it was a good practice, but they didn't play with passion. And he was explaining the difference between a good team and a team. He said, somebody's got to go 3-9. And it was such a fantastic take. And that was something he could have just said in the locker room. But sometimes you want to utilize the media to get your point across. And you saw the fire and the passion that he had in that interview. That's the very same passion and fire that he want these players to have, while practicing. Yes, it's fall camp. Yes, it was day one of fall camp. But, hey, Kenny Dillingham made it simple. You guys need to go out there and compete. And that same fire and passion that he utilized, in that, post-practice press conference is what he wants. And, at the end of the day, for these players to, put out on the field. So I thought it was truly impressive that, he had that type of passion. A lot of, some people may say, hey, man, it's just fall camp. No, it's not just fall camp. The season, what are we from week 0? What are we, like 20 days away from week 0 now? 19 maybe days away from week 0 now. So, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, season's just right around the corner. And what you done last year has nothing to do with what you're going to do this year. You still have to have that same passion, that same fire, and you still have to execute. So I love seeing Kenny Dillingham do that. And we kind of see Ryan Grubb took a similar approach. Hey, the standard has not changed. We need to go out and get it. And that's impressive. Jaydn Ott. I think some people going to look saying he sent, shots at Cal. Transfer portal, honestly, it's hit like a freight training. Jaydn Ott didn't pull any punches. When I asked what was the biggest difference since moving on from Cal to Oklahoma, the new Sooners running back dropped a haymaker. Culture shock, work ethic, attention to detail. Ott says he sees it all at OU. It is a, brutal look at Berkeley, but a powerful vote of confidence in Brent Venables in the locker room. Let's not mince our words. We seen Cal in the Pac-12. We seen Cal in the ACC. Cal did make it to a bowl game last year. Moon had a great conversation. My favorite interview over this past media day cycle was 2 of them, actually. The one Jalen did with Devin Brown, because I could see the fire in Devin Brown's eyes. And I saw that very same thing with Coach Wilcox when Moon sat down with Coach Wilcox. And I can tell you this. I think, and I said this to, I forgot, it may have been the SID Katrina. I said this to her. You go down to Norman, Oklahoma. Football is life. I think anybody in California, there's so much to compete with out there. There's so much going on. You got the weather, you got the women, you got a whole bunch of activities. But you go to a place like a Tuscaloosa or a place like Norman, football is king. So, of course, things are going to be different. All programs aren't created equal. The resources are certainly not the same. The resources in Norman, as it pertains to football, are more plentiful than the resources at Cal and Berkeley. It is what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you look at a team like Oklahoma, them in Texas, year in, year out, are 2 of the highest grossing programs as it pertains to the money that is made off of their football program. So, of course, it's going to be different. I can look at a statement like that and say, of course, somebody else may look at that statement and say, hey, he's taking a shot at Cal. I don't really think it was a shot at Cal. I think he was just explaining the difference between probably ACC and or Pac-12 ball and SEC ball. He's in Norman, Oklahoma. Football is king. You're treated like royalty when you went down there. But when you lose, Jaydn Ott, be careful. Be careful. You guys got one of the toughest schedules in the country. You guys need to win. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Oklahoma needs to win this year. They went and got a hot shot coordinator, 29-year-old, and Ben Arbuckle. A guy like John Mateer got them both from Pullman. They're down there in Norman. Yeah, you need to win. You need to win. You think those fans in Norman like saying Texas had success last year while Oklahoma was struggling offensively? No. So yes, is there a difference? The resources aren't the same. The resources are more plentiful, and I know it sounds crazy as it pertains to the sport of football in Norman than it is in Berkeley. Football is king in Norman. It's just a difference. So of course things are going to be different. Also, you have a coach who, whether you guys like it or not, is on the hot seat. It is what it is. I'm not saying this seat is as hot as our friend Sam Pittman's is, or his seat is as hot as maybe like a Brent Prime. Maybe it's probably the same, but Brent Venables' seat is hot. You know, you go out there, you get a guy like Jim Nagy, you know, has had so much success with building the brand of the Senior Bowl year in and year out. His ability to scout, he knows how to get players to the next level. He's going to do that very same thing in Norman. Oklahoma has to work this year. That's all I'm going to say. It has to work. So Tennessee brings in backup for the QB battle. I talked about Tennessee quite a lot, and it was kind of cool. I watch a lot of my peers. Of course, I watch CFB Nation content more than anybody else's content, but I do try to make sure that I catch, you know, Crane and Company, or, you know, Joe Cladd or Pate, or any other shows that are out there. I love what East Coast Gridiron does. My boy Dante was everywhere this past week, and I even shouted him out. And I'm like, he's working. I see he working. He was at Giants camp, Steelers camp, but he was just putting out a plethora of content. And real recognize real, and that's just the way it is. So Tennessee, and I said that to say this, that I saw that Joe Cladd was kind of out on Tennessee this year, and it's good seeing other people kind of feel the way you feel. And I know Nino is right there with us as well. I just don't see it. I don't. That's not a knock at Joey Aguilar. I really love what he did at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina during the 2023 season. 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They were truly one of the darlings of the sport. I just have to see it. I don't know who's going to win the quarterback competition. I do think it's a two-man race between Joey Aguilar and Jake Merklinger. It'll be interesting to see who wins, but they did bring in some firepower. They brought in Landry Jones, former Oklahoma quarterback, somebody Hypo knows really well, and he's going to be an offensive analyst for the team. Always talk about the GM position and how lucrative it is. You know what's kind of, for me, like a sabbatical? Or, you know, for former coaches, you'll see like former coaches or who kind of offensive analysts everywhere, or defensive analysts, or just have the analyst tag everywhere. And it's really good for, you know, somebody to try to get into coaching as well, and like Landry Jones situation. But that analyst position is pretty lucrative, man. When you want to go on a sabbatical and just do the work, the grunt work, you know, figuring things out, finding little nuances, things that, you know, you've seen, you know, other teams that are doing that maybe the coach, because all of the media stuff and all of that, may not miss. That's what the analyst position helps with. So, you know, somebody that, you know, understand the system, getting somebody like Landry Jones will be important. And when you're trying to, you know, teach these quarterbacks to command the offense, teach these quarterbacks to be leaders, I think iron sharpens iron. I truly do believe that. So, you know, and they also got Seth Luttrell, who also understands this offense, and whose air raid kind of had a lot of veer and shoot principles. If you heard me talk about Seth Luttrell before, and it just didn't work in Norman. Not sure why it didn't work in Norman. It just didn't work in Norman. But for them to get Seth Luttrell, the offensive mind he is, have him as an analyst, Landry Jones, to be able to talk to these quarterbacks and to kind of groom them and grow them up, I think it's a great move by Tennessee. Yes, I am out on Tennessee. I'm not sure how successful they'll be. The college football fan in me want to compare and contrast the seasons of the Tennessee Volunteers and the UCLA Bruins. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is a great move. I'm still going to congratulate when teams make a fantastic move. This is an A+ move, in my opinion. And we're going to move into the next segment, Governor Reacts, and it's viewer discretion is advised. Alrighty, so Governor Reacts. We are going to, I need to change this video, right? It's a little bit catfish. Went to the wrong team. Sorry about that. We change this video real quick. Boom, there we go. And you guys are going to see me fix it live too. But ain't nothing wrong with that. We're going to look at Tim Brando's top 15 teams. He was on Crane and Company. He listed his top 15 teams, and let's just say there's some things I'm not understanding of. Now, to be completely honest with you, I didn't catch his segment or his bit on the show, so he might have had clear expectations. I saw the list, and I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to react to this list. I'm going to give you the list that he had, and then we're going to talk about it. So Tim Brando just dropped his top 15 programs, and I've got thoughts. At number 1, he has Ohio State. Number 2, he has Clemson. Number 3, Notre Dame. I have no issue with that. There may be, Ohio State is the, reigning champion. I know a lot of people say, hey, until they're beaten, that's what I'm going to have at number 1. I have no issue with that. LSU 4, there's a lot of people that truly believe in what LSU can do. I'm one of them, but I'm not all the way there. I'm not there like my boy Nino, Auburn and LSU. Yes, them in the SEC title game. Great picks. Teams with plethora of talent, and if things work, I can see it. It just really is. Like, I believe in Garrett Nussmeier 100%. I don't think there's a throw that kid can't make. I got to see Brian Kelly do it. I really do. And number 5, Texas. Number 6, Penn State. We'll get to that in a second. Number 7, Georgia. Number 8, Iowa State. Number 9, Oregon. Number 10, Illinois. Pretty good. I like the fact that you had Illinois in there. Number 11 is Tulane. Number 12, Oklahoma. Number 13, Boise State. Number 14, Alabama. Number 15, Arizona State. I'm going to say this one more time. Ohio State 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, LSU 4, Texas is 5, Penn State is 6, Georgia is 7, Iowa State is 8, Oregon is 9, Illinois is 10, Tulane is 11, Oklahoma is 12, 13 is Boise State, 14 is Alabama, 15 is Arizona State. Alrighty. I hate this list. I'm not gonna lie. I just got to be honest. I hate this list. And sometimes I try to meet people where they at, and maybe I should have watched this segment to kind of get a better idea of what his thought process was. But we have 2 G5 teams on this list. The fact of the matter is, there will only be one G5 team in a college football playoff. That's what the fact of the matter is. So, yes, he's not picking his college football teams. He's just saying at the moment who his top 15 teams are. What in the hell is Penn State doing at 5? Why are they at 5, Tim Brando? I'm sorry, they're at 6. There aren't 5 teams in this country better than Penn State. On paper, right? Because we're making this list based off of the roster construction, right? I look at their staff. Yes, we have a lot of questions about James Franklin. We really do. Let's move him to the side, though. Let's look at their offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki. Let's look at their defensive coordinator, and Jim Knowles. You put them two together, it might be the best coordinator pairing that we have in the sport. You look at Drew Aller. Drew Aller is that guy in year 3 and maybe the most disrespected quarterback in the sport. I don't understand the Drew Aller hate. Where does it come from? Can you guys not see that sometimes the way that this program has been construed, the way that James Franklin has lost games, like we seen it last year when they played Ohio State and they was up 10 and they lost the game. We saw it. Like sometimes they're not risky enough. Sometimes they don't try to kick a team when they're down, and sometimes they get in situations where they're just playing not to lose. That's been James Franklin mantra his entire time there. Oh, we almost had him. Well, you have the roster this year, so when I see people putting Penn State at 6, and I look at this roster, and I can say the only way that you say that there's 5 teams better than Penn State, because when I look at the roster, I'm not saying that, and I'm not seeing that. The only way that you're saying something like that is because of James Franklin. That's the only way. It truly is the only way. But Drew Aller is a dude, and we've seen games where they really pick it up. That USC game where they were down a lot of points, and we see them get aggressive, and they were scoring points in bunches. We see the same thing. Yes, it was in a losing effort. We see the same thing when they played Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. We saw the same exact thing. So if they could be aggressive, this team could be dangerous. But not only Drew Aller, they got one of the best running back duels in all of the country, and Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. For some people's money, they got one of the best offensive lines in college football. They're right up there for me. They're in my top 3. I just happen to have Florida at 1. But they're in my top 3 for sure when we look at offensive lines. The wide receiver room, the talent is finally there. This may be the best wide receiver room. Of course, losing Warren at tight end isn't going to help. But the wide receiver room, the talent is there. I like their wide receiver room. And then their defense is stacked. And then you got Jim Knowles coaching the defense. You got somebody like Dennis Son and coming off the edge. It's like Penn State continues to produce, with defensive ends and guys that's playing that edge possession. They continue to do that. And then I already talked about Andy Kotelnicki and Jim Knowles. How can you look at this team and say there are 5 teams, and you have them at 6? You're saying that there's 5 teams in the country better than Penn State? I don't see that. That's one of my biggest beefs. I just don't see that right now. So if we're looking at this list, head-to-head, neutral site, they play Notre Dame right now. We don't know who Notre Dame quarterback is. Yes, Notre Dame ultimately beat Penn State last year. Penn State had opportunities. Neutral site right now, I'm picking Penn State. Neutral site versus Clemson, I don't know who I'm picking. I think Clemson and Penn State are the best teams in the country. I don't know who I'm picking. Ohio State, neutral site, I'm picking Penn State. LSU, neutral site, I'm picking Penn State. Texas, neutral site, I probably would, I don't know. I probably would pick Penn State, to be honest with you. I just don't see how Penn State is number 6 on this list. I don't see how you can look at the roster construction. I don't see how you can look at the return on production. You can't look at the staffers that they have on this team and say, hey, this is the 6th best team in the country. Other than looking at the head coach and saying, hey, we don't trust James Franklin. If you don't trust James Franklin, I get it. The guy has won a lot of ball games since he's been there, but I think it's the critical moments where people don't trust him. And we saw during the spring season, during that spring game, somebody called him a fraud. We saw his reaction to it. I understand body language. I understood the verbiage, everything that he was saying. In that moment, James Franklin, whoever called him a fraud, he wanted to fight him. He truly do want to fight him. But if they could coach with that passion, be more aggressive, 4th and 1, go for it. Right? 3rd and 2, take a shot. 2nd and 2, take a shot. Fully put the trust in Drew Aller. He has command of the offense. Fully put trust in him. So, yes, I can look at Tim Brando's list, and yeah, I don't agree with it at all. Penn State at 6 is bogus. But at the same time, I can look at it on the flip side and say, they don't trust James Franklin. He must not. Not to have Penn State at 6. There's no way Penn State is at 6. All righty. Cool. Let's address LSU. I think LSU has talent. I really do. I think they have a plethora of talent. One of the best constructed rosters in college football. But when I think about their gauntlet and I think about Brian Kelly, I struggle. I really do. And maybe it's kind of, the reciprocal or I guess we could say similar to the Penn State situation and maybe how Tim Brando views Penn State. I just think LSU gauntlet is the SEC gauntlet is just tough. It is what it is. It really is. Like, you can run through a couple of teams in the Big Ten and be okay. It is what it is. But a good bulk of the teams in the SEC, though, it's a tough gauntlet. It's truly a tough gauntlet. And I don't think LSU is the 4th best team in the country. I just don't believe that. I really don't. I would put Penn State ahead of them. Texas would be ahead of them. Not based on a roster construction, but just based on totality. I would put Georgia ahead of them. Oregon would be ahead of them. That's just the way that I feel. And it's not that they don't have a good team. They have a damn good team. Yes, if this, you switch their jerseys and send this team to Athens, with Kirby Smart, they win the national championship. So I see it. I get it. They're just not 4th in my book. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're not 4th in my book. I don't see that. Next team we're going to address. Ohio State. Is Ohio State the number 1 team in the country right now? I get it. They're the reigning champs, and until somebody beat them, they are the reigning champs. It is what it is. But currently, right now, at fall camp, they're having a quarterback battle reminiscent of their 2023 quarterback battle between Devin Brown and Kyle McCord. They lost both of their coordinators, and I know you guys going to say, well, Brian Hartline was a part of it. Okay, I get that. I give you that. Got one of the best players in the country, maybe the top 2 best players in the country, because for my money, Caleb Downs is the best player in the country. I know we like to say it's Jeremiah Smith, and Jeremiah Smith had a fantastic freshman year, but they probably do got the 2 best players in the country. For my money, Caleb Downs is still the best player in the country. It is what it is. He's just that dynamic to me. But they're currently in a quarterback battle. They've lost both of their coordinators. Chip Kelly went for greener pastures in the NFL. Jim Knowles felt disrespected and said, yeah, I want to play y'all. And he went to Penn State. Ohio State's not number 1 right now. Maybe top 3, top 4, absolutely. I give you that. But number 1, no. No, I don't see that. I don't see that. LSU at 4, I don't know. But I will say this. And, of course, you guys already knew I was going to be critical of this list. I do like Clemson at 2. I really do. I think it's a bold call. I think I might have had Clemson in the most recent top 25 I did. I'll do my final top 25. And, of course, CFP Nation, if you guys don't know, we'll be doing a weekly poll. I'm still waiting on people to get their top 25s in. But we've got some great results. I have seen them so far. I can't wait to see it in totality, because not only did we get people that is a part of CFP Nation, we also reached out to some of the movers and shakers in the industry to ask them to polls, just so the poll is, has balance and that it is respected. But I like Clemson at 2 a lot. K. Klubnik is poised for a breakout. Love the pairing with him and Garrett Riley. Maybe that best quarterback to coordinated pairing in the country. The defense is nasty. I mean, the defense is good, really good. And I spoke on Garrett Riley. I think him and K. Klubnik are 100% in sync. And they're just building something. I tell you what, I was at ACC Media Days, and the media frenzy there for North Carolina and Clemson was out of this world. I tell you, Clemson didn't even meet with anybody on Radio Row. They just met behind Radio Row. And when you could see them directly behind us, like where we were sitting at, it was people packed in there like sardines. Like, it was crazy, the fanfare. And then Belichick's, that media frenzy was crazy. Like, people were literally just waiting in there while Duke was in there. It didn't ask Duke any questions, but just waiting there for a front row seat. And I'm talking about front row seat right on the podium to be that close to Coach Belichick. But Clemson is going to be damn good this year. They're at number 2 I have no issue with. Anybody has them at 1 or 2, I have no issues with. This is where I start getting upset. Alabama at 14 is crazy. Alabama at 14, Tim Brando, I don't know what the hell you were thinking. Alabama at 14 is bogus, bro. This is a top 17 period, maybe a top 16. I'm buying all Ty Simpson stock. If you've been watching this show and following this show, I know we're on episode 58, but if you've been following this show for a while, I told you guys that the MVP of the spring season was Ty Simpson for my money. It just really was, because if you look at the wide receiver room that Alabama has, and you look at Ty Simpson, and if you can't say that this was reminiscent of the team that they had in Seattle, Washington, in 2023 with the Washington Huskies offense, it is. It really is reminiscent of that. So the fact that Alabama's at 14, Tim Brando, no, it's no way you got Alabama at 14, bro. It's no way. I talked about the wide receiver room. It's loaded. The defense, nice. One of the best offensive lines in the country. What are we doing? Alabama at 14, cuz? 14? Boise State, Alabama play neutral site. Alabama's putting hands and feet upon them. Oklahoma, I don't got no beef with. Tulane and Alabama play neutral site. Alabama's putting hands and feet on them. Illinois and Alabama play right now. If they play 10 times, Alabama wins 6-4. Oregon, if they played Alabama 10 times, it'll probably be 5-5, 6-4. I would say 6-4 Alabama. Iowa State, if Alabama played Iowa State neutral site, they would put hands and feet on Iowa State. It will be very reminiscent, and I like Iowa State as a team, but it'll be very reminiscent to what we've seen Arizona State and Iowa State do in the Big 12 championship. There is no way, Tim Brando, you got Alabama at 14, bro. You are Tulane? Tulane is good, but will Tulane even win the American, bro? You got Tulane this high? Like Blake Horvath don't play for Navy? Like Byron Brown won't be back at USF this year? Coach Silverfield at Memphis already told you the third most, wins at home in college football since 2014 or 2015 is Memphis. And FAU is my surprise pick out of the American. There's too many good teams in the American, and the fact that we're saying Tulane is just going to outright win the American is bogus, bro. Because I tell you right now, who's favored and who should be favored is Navy. With the return of production that they got, I like their schedule, and Blake Horvath is real deal, and that offense is hard to stop. And if they get a lead, look out, because they're going to possess the ball. And it's not the same flex bone. If you haven't seen them, it's not the same flex bone that we've seen for years and years. They changed the offense up a little bit. Yes, is that the base of their offense? Absolutely. But Tulane at number 11? Yes, I like Coach Summerall is one of the best coaches in the sport. Yes, I like Tulane, but are they going to come out of the American, bro? Are they? Are they the team to beat in the American? Where there's too many damn good teams in American. I didn't even mention Army. Too many good teams in the American, and we got Tulane at 11. Alabama played Tulane, bruh. It's gonna be problems. And like I said, there's some really good G5 teams out there. You guys know I love G5 ball. Toledo's gonna be really good this year. I think by default, Liberty is gonna be really good as well. But how will the College Football Playoff Committee view their schedule when they got the easiest schedule in the country? That's where I'm at with that. Boise State's gonna be really good, but UNLV is gonna be really good too. Y'all keep sleeping on Dan Mullen. Keep sleeping on him. Keep sleeping on Alex Orji. Keep sleeping on Jaden Thomas. They got some playmakers out there, bro. UNLV is going to be good, too. Is Boise State probably the favorite for the G5? Yeah, they were the favorite last year. Yeah, they should be up there. So I can get him put in one G5 team, but at the bottom of the list. You know, when you make lists like this and you got two G5 teams, I'm sure you feel good about both programs, but the American is stacked, bro. The American is the deepest conference in the group of 5 conferences. And I don't even think it's close. They're that damn good. So, no. The American won't be a pushover. I can promise you that. There are some teams that we're just not paying attention to. But I can't believe Alabama's at 14. I saw that and I thought it was a mistake. I really did. I thought I made a typo. I had to go double check it. Alabama at 14 is bogus, bro. Don't even put them on the list. You gonna have them no low. Don't even put them on the list. You really should. Just don't do it. That's wild. I still can't believe Alabama's 14. So Boise State and Tulane, like I said, both of those programs could win their conferences, you know, respectfully. But hey, there's some really good teams in the American. And then the Mountain West, I think you're looking at, you know, 2 or 3 teams who gonna win that conference. But I like UNLV a lot. I like Boise State as well. They can go hand in hand. But who's gonna get that last G5 spot? It'll be interesting. But it's going to be difficult to say no if Liberty goes 12-0, 13-0 in the regular season. You might have to put them in, even with that easy schedule. And Arizona State at 15, how I feel about it. Really good team, really good ball coach. I was just giving, you know, Kenny Dillingham his flowers earlier for his, you know, after day 1 of fall camp to send a message through the media. I thought, fantastic move, really fantastic move. I ain't got no beef with that. Other teams I'm considering in my top 15, Baylor. I really think Baylor is built to win. They got the defense. And I know, you know, people are high on Auburn. I like Auburn a lot this year as well. But I think Baylor's going to make a statement when they play Auburn week 1. I really do. Down in Waco. And I'm hoping to be there. Yes. I probably won't be there. Because I'll be at Clemson. I'm definitely going to FAU, Maryland. Yeah, I probably won't be there. But I'll be paying attention to it. But yeah, I like Baylor's team a lot. I really do. Who else? South Carolina. Why South Carolina not in this top 15? Makes you think. Is Boise State better than South Carolina? Tulane better than South Carolina? I don't know. Where's Florida at? Speaking of which, I'm probably going to comment on something I shouldn't comment on. Stop being weird with DJ Lagway, man. Like, y'all, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's fandom. I don't know what it is, man, but, you know, y'all act like, you know, football ain't a sport with 100% injury, man. That man's allowed to be injured, man. Y'all go out there and play quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, stop being weird, man. That's all I got to say about that. Just stop being weird. I hate the weird activity. But that's Tim Brando's list. Some pieces I like. I don't like a good portion of it. Like I said, I like Illinois being in the top 10. We see the same with that. I think Illinois is going to be really good this year. I do have them in my college football playoff. Oklahoma at 12 is one of the hardest teams to calibrate just because how difficult their schedule is. But I believe in them. I believe in Brent Venables. I believe in Ben Arbuckle. I believe in John Mateer, Jaydn Ott. I like the players they have on the outside. Really good defense. I think this is going to be Peyton Bowen's season this upcoming year. I think he's going to have a dynamic year defensively. And look out for him. So we're going to get into our next segment. A segment I'm really happy about because I feel like I haven't done one of these type of governor rulings in a while. It's kind of been, you know, concentrated on, you know, whether it's like my top 25 or other people's top 25. We've kind of reacted to it, and it kind of could have fell under the label of Governor Reacts. But this governor ruling, I think you guys going to like. We're going to talk a little bit about the semantics of college football, and which we do a lot. And I think the season's kind of winding down for governor ruling, to be honest with you. We'll do it a lot in the all season. We'll do it sometime probably at like the quarter marks and stuff, you know, during the season. quarter mark, halfway mark, or after a few games, I feel a way about a team. But yeah, let's get into this next segment. Governor ruling. Shout out to the good folks at Bull Rush. I'm glad we was able to sit down, chop it up, talk business with Bull Rush down in Boca Raton. Boca Raton is such a beautiful city, but that heat is different down there. I came back home, beautiful state of Virginia. It was like 82 degrees when I got back here, bro. It felt beautiful, beautiful. But at nighttime, it was 80 degrees there. And if y'all want to know why they call Gainesville the swamp, and we was in Boca, mind you, like it was nighttime, bro, and it felt like the sun was still out. And we just went on a quick walk to Wawa real quick to grab a smoothie, man, because we was exhausted. Like we was out there in that sun, bro. I got darker during my time in Boca Raton, but the heat out there is different. But governor ruling, President Trump executive order, and how this will shape the future of the sport. So I want to give you the facts. On this show, I always want to catch people up on the world of college football. Some things I may see. It's my guys, especially D-Now, bro. D-Now, I get so much college football information from D-Now, bro. I don't think D-Now truly understands how important he is to my ecosystem. He really don't, because there's a lot of news I would not hear for what it wasn't for him. Because I think there's levels to intel. Like I could never be an insider because I don't think I read between the lines well enough as it pertains to being an insider. But someone like D-Now called something like 2 days before or 3 days before that happens. I'm like, how the hell did he know this? So I don't know. I don't know how important I don't know if he knows how important he is to my ecosystem. Shout out to D-Now, bro. But let's get into it. I want to give you guys the facts. Like I say, just in case you don't know what's going on, or you kind of have an idea what's going on, but you want it to be, explained and kind of a little bit of a, lamer term. We're going to get into that. So what just happened? A major change just rocked the foundation of NIL policy. The College Sports Commission, CSC, the newly formed enforcement arm run by power conferences, just released a revised memo saying this: yes, NIL collectives can now pay athletes directly, but only if certain rules are followed. We need limitations. We do. We just need it. It reverses a July 10 memo that originally rejected collectives as valid businesses. While the change, after the heavy backlash and week-long negotiations with attorneys behind the House versus NCAA case, the CSC issued new guidance. And then we have these three golden rules. And I like these three golden rules, aka valid, business purposes benchmarks. Deliver a good or service to the general public. So you can't be hiding behind a wall. You have to deliver a good or service to the general public. Operate for profit, my apologies, not just as a pass-through to athletes. Because I think what a lot of people believed, what I believe, is that these schools were kind of hiding behind some of these NIL collectives and were paying the athletes directly, which we no longer have an issue with. It just needs to be known. Because, you'll hear the jealousy. Ohio State spent $40 million on that roster. And then Ryan Day will say, whoa, not so fast. Wait one goddamn minute. We only spent like 22, 23 million or 30 million. I forgot. No, he said 22 million on this roster. That's what he said last year. And a lot of people felt like, Texas Tech spent a lot of money on their roster. But we kind of didn't know what it was. So operate for profit. I already talked about that. Not just a pass through the athletes, and pay within fair market value. These operative words were like ding, 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 ding. Okay, now we're talking shop. Now we're talking business. Pay within fair market value. And so a few thoughts popped into my mind. Well, how will we determine fair market value? I think a cap is coming. I'll get into my takes a little bit later on in this segment, but I'm just letting you know what my thought process is. Pay within a fair market value. Who's going to establish this fair market value, right? It'll be determined and tracked through NIL Go submission system. NIL Go is going to be truly, truly impressive. It really is. The fact that you'll be able to see all of this, see who are the legitimate companies are, what they're paying said athlete, I think this is going to be impressive. This is no longer about who's paying. It's about what the deal actually is. The CSC now reviews the transaction, not just the entity behind it. Every deal will be judged case by case with special attention to profit, public service, and market rate, aka market value. This is impressive. Stay with me. I'm just trying to break this down. Real world impact. So what types of deals are now allowed? Think merch sales, autograph sessions, golf tournament appearance, speaking engagements, any legitimate event or campaign that generates value to the public. But let's be clear, pay for play is still banned. And what did I just say earlier? I believe that a lot of these universities were still paying these players secretly behind these third-party NIL collectives, and it was really, you couldn't really do much work with it, right? If we're being honest. But still, the impact is huge. Denied deals from earlier this month are now being reevaluated using the new rules. So let's go back over the golden rules. Deliver a good service to the general public. Operate for profit, not just as a pass-through to athletes. They have to actually be in business for profit. That's impressive, but pay within fair market value, and how that market value will be determined is by NIL Go. So I think in the long run, we're not there yet, I think this will help a little bit with the tampering that we see, with the poaching that we see. I really do. I just think they need to do a loyalty bonus. I covered this, I think it was like episode 30 something, maybe 20 something, that we need an NIL loyalty bonus. I truly believe that. Still, the impact is huge. Denied deals from earlier this month are still being reevaluated using the new rules. I just said that. So enforcing the rules, athletes must report any third-party NIL deal worth $600 plus to the NIL Go clearinghouse. One of my fears is that some of these players who don't follow some of these rules may be subject to suspension. But who's going to suspend them? I don't know. A flag, the CSC, led by ex-MOB executive Brian Seeley, can demand proof of legitimacy. Impressive. If the athlete or business refuses or provides insufficient documentation, the deal gets denied. Right now, hundreds of deals are under review with more than 1,500 already approved. So if you're doing everything you're supposed to do, you following those three golden rules, you're good. Commissioner and legal reaction. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey called this a necessary step for national fairness and structure. Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin kind of threw shade, saying some schools still think the enforcement won't stick. But Big Ten Commissioner, these are some of the things that have been said about other people. Tony Petitti warned that this is only the beginning. Expect more changes and more negotiations with attorneys. Attorney Tom Mars, who represents NIL collectives, applauded the update but slammed the delay, which is crazy. So I'm just kind of giving you the background. Now we're going to get to kind of, what I think and how I feel about it. We move past the ideology of amateurism. Remember, that's what the NCAA wanted for so long, that ideology of amateurism, that these players are students first, then athletes, and that's why we always hear student athletes, because they wanted the respect to amateurism. We will still use the label student athlete, but let's not pretend the same thing it used to be. A top 10 basketball recruit may be on campus for 6 or 7 months, bro. Maybe 8 at the most before heading to the NBA. How much is he paying attention in class? Like, let's be real. Like, he's probably taking the easiest courses he can take. He has no plans on getting his degree probably until later on. It just is what it is. They're not going to be on campus, that long. In football, many of these players are handling more interviews, sponsorships, and contract conversations. Let's be real. Once the money enters the equation, real money, we're talking about professional athletes who just happen to be enrolled in a college taking a course, right? And that's fine, but that means we need accountability, just like the NFL, or NBA, MLB, soccer. You can Google a player's contract. I remember when I was doing levered analytics, one of my favorite things to do, this is when we were with Real Ones Productions, and we weren't just doing college football. Then I realized all I really care about covering is college football. But we was doing NFL and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out a way, because talking NFL is so saturated, so oversaturated, because there's so many people talking NFL. I wanted to find a way to kind of be creative in my covering of the NFL. So I would look at contracts. I would study them. I really would. Look at teams with a bunch of, dead salary cap of players who moved on, bad deals that were happening. And I had this show called Levered Analytics, and that's kind of what I would cover. I would cover, that type of stuff. But I said that to say this, like there's a site I think it's Sports Track. I can't think of the name of the site, but you can see everybody's money. You can see what they're making this year, what's their bonus this year, what's going to be that balloon payment at the end that we see at a lot of contracts. We will see this, time and time again. So just like the NFL, MLB, NBA, you can see players' contracts. Well, we need that same accountability with college as it pertains to the NIL and revenue sharing. We need that very same accountability. We need to be able to see those contracts. If the public and opposing schools can see what deals are on the table, it eliminates the whispers and the backdoor rumors. Like we were just talking about when people said, Ohio State and Texas spent like $40 million on their roster construction. According to Ryan Day, it wasn't true. I don't believe it's true. I don't think they spent that type of money, but I think that's why we do need something like NIL Go, so that there's some legitimacy. Now, are they truly going to enforce the rules? I think that's another topic. That's another Pandora's box that we won't kind of address right here, but it's certainly something to deal with. So I like it. So this is kind of where I'm at. So this change will put pressure on collectives, to be honest, kill the false narrative game, help enforce fair market value and real standards, make it harder to run pay-for-play disguised as NIL. And there was a lot of that going on. If you don't think it's going on, what they say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Or my dad would say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't competing. I don't know. If you're a college football fan who already wants fair play, clear rules, and a competitive sport, this is exactly the kind of transparency the game needed. And let me tell you where I think it's headed. Eventually, we'll have a salary cap at the FBS level. I truly believe it. I don't know how it works. I don't know what it looks like. I think that cap will probably be different at the Group of 5 level. I think soon to be G6 level. I'm not sure what it looks like, to be honest with you, but I think at some point we're heading this way, because if we're trying to determine fair market value, we're able to see these contracts on NIL Go. What establishes, too high of a paycheck if we're trying to get to a fair market value, right? So I think we're headed towards the salary cap direction. That structure, if done right, won't just save college football. It'll make it better as it pertains to the semantics of the sport. There's nothing wrong with this game in the fall. This game is as pure as it's ever been. There's no other sport I'd rather watch. It isn't. When we have these discussions, about on governor's ruling and how we can improve the sport, I'm purely just addressing semantics. I'm not addressing anything else. It's just, how can this sport be better, in the off season? Because, it's the off season, of course. Welcome back everybody who was, kind of catching up on college football, which you missed the last 7 months. It's documented. Go follow at the CFB Nation on Twitter. Go follow at the CFB Nation on YouTube. Follow at Governor of College Football on YouTube, and you can find out what you've been missing, these past 7 months. But welcome back, and everybody who's been here, those 1% who's been here the entire time, thank you. Alrighty, so here's my final verdict. This is a massive W for collegiate sports, especially college football. Fair play, transparency, guardrails. The money's already in the building. Now it's time to manage it like grown-ups. And I like it. We can see it at the NFL level. We kind of knew pay for play. Let's just be honest. Can I talk to y'all? Can I be real with y'all? Pay for play been happening way before we all were talking about NIL, right? We do know that. There's been rumored that there was a number, because some of these per diems, these schools were giving these athletes and saying that's enough money to live, and you wonder why some of those athletes were doing other things to make money. It is what it is, but I believe certain players did get paid or did get compensation. Like the movie, was it Blue Chips? Those ideologies didn't just come from anywhere, right? So we were going to take an ad break, but this is my goddamn show. Shout out to Bull Rush. They're our sponsors. We're not taking no ad break today because we're already at the 54-minute mark, and I still got to get to our Around the Nation segment, so let's get to it. Around the Nation. So today on Around the Nation, we're going to look at the 32 teams with a legitimate shot at the college football playoff. I said this in the opening, and we're definitely going to end up going into overtime today. I said this in the opening that I like the 12-team playoff format, and of course it's going to end up, I think, ultimately going up to either, 14 or 16 teams, probably 16 teams. But what I do like is that more teams now have an opportunity to make the college football playoff. I felt like with the old format, 4-team playoff, I feel like 10 and 12 teams probably had a legitimate shot. I feel like that window is opened up a lot more now that we at that 12-team marker. So ESPN did a list of 32 teams that can make the college football playoff. I'm going to read the teams and then kind of read a one-liner that ESPN had in its piece, and then After that, I kind of go over how I feel about some of these teams. So number one at Texas, ESPN top playoff favorite. They got an 83.9% chance of making the college football playoff. 4 new linemen, new quarterback. If you consider them new and Arch Manning, it is what it is. Georgia is at number 2 playoff caliber again, but wide O drops and O-line turnover must improve for Gunnar Stockton to lead a real title push. Ohio State is number 3, defending champs with a brutal schedule. 5 tough road games and potential trap versus Penn State and Columbus. I don't think that's a trap game. If you think Jim Knowles ain't gonna be ready for that game, you're crazy. Alabama at number 4, better in year 2 under DeBoer. I believe that Ryan Grubb is back. We already know the deal. Penn State at 5. We'll see. Who at number 6? New look Ducks. We know DeAndre Moore is the new quarterback. Somebody said this the other day, and I thought it was so great. I think it was my guy SC Romero. He was saying that like Bo Nix was doubted, which he was. Dylan Gabriel was doubted, which he was, and DeAndre Moore is being doubted now. But I think the system that Dan Lanning has out in Eugene, not just of course Dan Lanning is a defensive minded coach, but I just think what he's doing is working. I just got to figure out a way to get over the hump and go win that national championship. Clemson at 7. Clemson is deadly. I said it earlier, they really are. Miami with the 8th best chance of making a college football playoff. I don't see it. Some other people see it. I don't see it. I don't. I really don't. I think their chance was last year. I really do. I don't know. And there's some people I really respect that see it in Miami. I don't. Like, when I look at teams who are going to compete in the ACC, of course I think Clemson's going to win it. But, like, the teams that come to mind for me first are, like, Louisville, Tech, Georgia Tech, that is, SMU, Duke. Manny Diaz is scary. Manny Diaz is putting in the work in Durham, and enough people aren't talking about it. Notre Dame at number 9. Tennessee at 10. No. I go on record to say this. Tennessee made the college football playoff this year. I cut my dreads. And I know Tennessee fans are like, dang, you hating, but that Syracuse game, week 1 gonna tell us where they at. If they come out and they dominate like they did versus NC State last year, I shut up. And I'll be nervous for my hair. I really will be, but Tennessee made the playoffs and cut my hair because clearly I know nothing about college football. At number 11, Texas A&M. That coach building something special. I like Colin Klein as the offensive coordinator. Marcel Reed, it'd be interesting to see what his development is like. Now that he's the guy full time, because last year with him and Connor Wegman battling for that spot. I'm interested to see. Ole Miss, something great is happening in Oxford. I wasn't high on them, earlier in the offseason. More and more I hear about them, the more I read, the more I like Ole Miss. I think my beef with Ole Miss is the fact that they didn't make the playoff last year when they were my prediction for the team to win it all, and I was frustrated about it. LSU at 13. I've talked a lot about LSU. Michigan at 14. Be interested to see what happens with Michigan this year. Boise State at 15. Tulane at 16. Favorite in the American? I don't think so. That Northwestern game in Tulane is going to be crazy. It really is. And they play Duke. Kansas State at 17. Auburn at 18. UNLV, shout out to Dan Mullen. They getting the respect that they deserve out there in Las Vegas. SMU at 20. USC at 21. South Carolina at 22. Oklahoma at 23. Arizona State at 24. Florida at 25. That's kind of low. Kansas at 26. BYU at 27. Virginia Tech at 28. Baylor at 29. Shout out to Baylor. I think Baylor will be in the playoff. Nebraska at 30. We know about the Matt rule, year 3 rule. TCU at 31. More people are paying attention to TCU. Texas Tech at 32. Did I see Illinois on this list? Wow. No Illinois. That's interesting. No Illinois on this list. That's interesting. I don't believe I seen Louisville on this list. That's interesting. There's another good team missing on this list too. Florida being that low is crazy. Kansas. Hey man, I think Lance Leopold is a great coach, but I'm not sure if they should be on this list. I'm just not sure. I like Texas Tech. TCU is going to surprise some people this year. Nebraska on this list I'm okay with. Virginia Tech, I like to see it. I really would. I wanted to see it happen last year. New offensive coordinator and Philip Montgomery. Tyler Bowen, I think, has joined Ohio State as like an offensive line coach or maybe an analyst. I'm not sure, but I believe it's an offensive line coach. So it's interesting. These teams do have good chances. I still can't believe, like, I'm looking up and down this list. I don't see Illinois. I don't know. I'm mind boggled by that. I can't believe I don't see that. Georgia Tech isn't on this list. That's crazy. Miami, for my money, is just way too high on this list at 11. That's wild. Oregon at 6, I'm okay with. Penn State at 5. Of course, I'm okay with. Alabama at 4, I'm okay with that. Tennessee at 10 and Miami at 8. Those are the two biggest ones when I look at this list. Those just don't make sense for me. They just don't. Surprised Iowa isn't on this list. You guys have seen me talk up Kirk Ferentz for years. Him and Phil Parker just don't get enough respect or credit for what they've been able to do in Iowa City. They just don't. They don't at all. Did Iowa State make this list? South Carolina is really low. No Iowa State. So we got TCU, who's in the Big 12 over Iowa State. BYU and Kansas are probably my two biggest beefs. Well, I like BYU. I think LJ Martin is real deal. The loss of Ratzlaff will hurt. And I know, with him being at Tulane, that's a lot of people's favorite to win, the American. I just don't see it. I don't see that they can win it. Of course they can win the American. I just think the American is loaded. And just being around those teams a lot, at media days, you see the talent there. You really do see the talent there. And for my money, Navy is still the favorite. But like I said, Ratzlaff certainly makes Tulane interesting. And Summerall wins. Summerall's been able to win everywhere he was. But there's just a couple teams on this list I don't like at all. I really don't. Alrighty. But those are the 32 teams that ESPN is giving an opportunity to. Let me know down in the comment section who you think they forgot. I think there's a couple teams that should have been on that list, or a few teams that was too low on that list. Like I said, overall, not a bad list. It was just a couple teams too low. Really, really fun episode. It's back to be back at home base. Like I said, don't think I'm going to be at home base all week because the Moon give me a call and say, hey, this team wants to go there. We're going to go. As long as I'm able to go live, I'm cool with it. Really fun episode today. Like I said, I'm happy to be at home base. Program announcements. We are now going live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is a new time. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube at Governor of College Football. I'll be doing a lot more uploads on there, a lot more community posts, and then we're going crazy with the shorts. I'm trying to do like 24 shorts a week on there, but just like me talking college football shorts. So I'll break down this episode, look at the best moments to create shorts with. We're doing that. In season, Friday might be out of the loop. I'm not sure, but at least for the remainder of this month, I'm not sure I don't think we're going anywhere week 0. Moon will end up going somewhere week 0. I don't think I'm traveling week 0. But starting week 1, it may be difficult because we plan on going to Thursday games, Friday games. So week 1 is going to be weird, but I will promise you this. Me and Moon are working on a vertical episode show. That way we can give you guys content from the road. So I actually sent him a message earlier so we could try to formulate what that's going to look like. But like I said, we got a lot of amazing content coming for you guys tonight. Overreaction Monday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I actually got to send D now and Nino the script. It's been a few weeks since I've been on that show, so I can't wait to be on there tonight. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, we'll see you guys tomorrow, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You all take care. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ on
defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of it. We appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and also don't forget to check out the other content that we have here, there, and everywhere.